There were 571 bills introduced this legislative session in Pierre.
And that high volume of bills leads to plenty of discussion among legislators. However, at times, those conversations can be contentious.
And that left us wondering how lawmakers are expected to conduct themselves at the Capitol. Jordan DeSmet dives into legislative decorum in tonight's Eye on KELOLAND.
South Dakota state legislators discuss a wide variety of bills each session. This year, some of the topics included property taxes, data centers, and school lunch funding, among many other things. Through it all, lawmakers are expected to conduct themselves with decorum.
By the good representative, over 94.
Julia Hellwig, who is an associate professor of political science at the University of South Dakota, describes it as lawmakers having respect for one another and the institution.
It means that we are following the appropriate rules and the laws, but it also means following the norms, meaning sort of how we expect to treat one another.
Beyond its symbolic purpose, Hellwig also says decorum is practical.
If we want to make sure that we are being very effective and very efficient, then we need to be able to move relatively quickly. We have a short amount of time. And honestly, poor behavior, bad behavior actually just takes more time, right? It just makes things much more difficult to do.
Eric Muckey, a Democratic representative from Sioux Falls, says decorum in the South Dakota legislature, quote, has not gone downhill, but he sees issues with civility at times when his colleagues are up for re-election.
What I think was challenging this session as far as decorum goes is we're in a campaign year, and folks who really want to find ways to put out mailers or postcards against their opponents, we're trying to find ways to accomplish that in the legislature. And you can tell a pretty fast difference between those who are campaigning and those who are governing.
Hellwig agrees that there can be a level of posturing during election years. In addition, she shares similar thoughts as Republican Senator Kevin Jensen of the Canton area, who sometimes sees a lack of decorum from his newer colleagues.
I think what happens is we have people that are very passionate, and especially some of the people that have not been around as long, their passion can turn into frustration and anger. And you know, as legislators, we shouldn't let that get in the way. But it does happen. And I think overall, at least in the Senate side, I saw a couple of things that were, you know, frustrating, but nothing really that stood out any greater than any other year.
In legislatures where we have, for example, term limits and we have a lot of turnover, we have less likelihood that the politicians are going to be professional politicians, right? So that means they're there for a short time, which also means that there's less institutional memory and sort of institutional expectations of behavior.
But with whomever is in the South Dakota legislature during a given session, widely debated issues will still come up. And regardless of what is being discussed, both Muckey and Jensen say it's important for lawmakers to not lose decorum for both themselves and the people they serve.
I think the politeness on the floor is statesmanship. And when you lose your statesmanship, then people start thinking, I think the general public kind of looks at it as kind of disappointing that we can't just have a civil discussion.
Decorum matters because decorum is what holds us together as a body to be able to work together and find common ground and not lose you, our constituents, in the process of who's bickering today over a policy issue. That's why it's so important to maintain decorum.
With Eye on KELOLAND, I'm Jordan DeSmet.
According to Hellwig, another reason to prioritize decorum is for constituents not to lose trust in the government. Now, you can find all of our stories on this year's session on the South Dakota Legislative Session page on our website.